Hey everyone, it's late at night and I am Norman. I am currently in possession of the most complicated mechanical watch that I've ever experienced in the flesh. So, let's review it. So here is the watch that we're looking at tonight, the Towson Mission Moon Chronograph. And the first thing you'll notice when you see this watch in person is how solid this is. This is definitely a sports watch, but look at all that dressy, classy detail to it. I received the watch on this strap with some nice matching stitching to the colorway. The lugs are brushed on the top and polished on the side. They are not drilled, and look at that cool coin edge on the top and the bottom. That is awesome. And I like this bezel here. It actually makes the watch wear pretty small. I originally thought this was a 40mm, maybe 39, but it's actually listed as 42. However, when I measured it with my calipers, I got 41. So it really is a perfect modern watch size. Looking at the pushers and the crown, I love that crown. That is so cool. That is just fun. The bezel is polished. We have a flat crystal on here. It is sapphire. Flipping it over to the back, we can see the movement there a bit behind the rotor. And this is a 25 jewel movement. Very cool. I believe this is a unidirectional movement because I felt it spinning around while I was wearing it on my wrist, but it's not really loud at all. I haven't heard any noises. The crystal in the back is listed as sapphire, just like the front. This movement is really cool looking. As you can imagine, there's a ton going on in there. Looking at this watch from the side, it's pretty tall, but again, that bezel really helps mitigate that. And of course it's going to be tall, given all of these complications. There's a tachometer around the rehaut in there. There is no lume on this watch. The indices are polished chrome, and then we have dot indices in between. There is a lot going on with this watch. And I've spent some time with it now and figured out how to set it and everything. So let's dive into all of that. First, using the crown. This has to be one of the tightest crowns I've ever experienced. It is really tough to turn this. At first, it was a little bit scary because this isn't my watch, and it just felt odd that it was that snug. But honestly, I would rather have more resistance than none, especially when it comes to setting the time. So this is a 3-position crown. We wind it here, we could pull it out once to set the date. And I have to say it's kind of tough to feel the different positions. It all kind of is muddled there. So let's see if we're in the right spot. No. Yes. So turning it counterclockwise sets the date. So there's a date hand there. At first I thought that might be a chronograph hand, so I was a bit confused as to how you set the date when all you have is one crown and one quick set button here. But it makes perfect sense now. So you set the date turning it this direction, and you set the moon turning the other direction. Although this crown isn't quite in position, I don't think. Enough to set the date, but the moon... There it goes. So you can kind of get the moon where you need it. And then we pull it all the way out and set the time. And again, this is super snug. Just as snug as it is when you're winding it. And then push this in. Now this arrived with this. This great looking pen. It's nice and solid feeling, just really nice. Maybe this was included to operate that, but I am not using this fancy pen to do that. I'll use this. So up here we see that there is a day and a month. And if I push on that, it advances the day. So I can get that set correctly. And how do I set the month? To set the month, I have to loop this around. Then it advances the month. So that is kind of a pain. You have to kind of go through till you get to the month that you want. But that snaps over pretty quickly. That's cool. And then push this back in again. And operating the chronograph. This is just a simple start, stop, and reset. These pushers feel really great. The snap on there is really sharp. So this will advance around for a minute, and then we have up to 30 minutes tracked up here in this subdial. Stop that. And it snaps back. Down here, we have the running seconds hand and a 24-hour subdial there. I actually have no idea what this hand does. I am going to have to consult the instruction manual. Okay, that's pretty cool. So up here, we have the minute counter for the chronograph, and this is an hour counter. So assuming you have enough power reserve, you can run that chronograph for quite a while and it'll track for hours. I like their logo. It reminds me of sailing, just kind of a nautical look to it to me. Those hands are kind of difficult to see though. There's a lot going on here and they just kind of blend in a bit. I mean, after all, you have 4 hands sitting there and they're all kind of similar widths. The time-telling hands are leaf hands and they're a little bit thicker, but when you glance down, you just see hands coming out in all directions. So it does take a moment to identify the time-telling hands. These are also available in a black dial, a silver dial, and of course the one that we're looking at tonight, which is the silver and copper. My personal favorite is this one, the silver dial. That looks pretty cool. The texture on the dial is cool. I like that band around the edge there. And that is really highlighted in the silver one as it's kind of a two-tone. It's a little bit darker than the inner part of the dial. As for the specifications on this watch, the case size is 42 millimeters, 41 according to my calipers as I mentioned. It is stainless steel. The case height is 14 millimeters, which is totally understandable given all that that movement is doing. The lug to lug is 49 millimeters. The lug width is 20. We have sapphire on the front and the back. This has 50 meters of water resistance, so a bit more than just a standard dress watch, but again, I feel like this is sort of a dressy sports watch. The movement inside is a caliber 7751. The reference number is MM250-SC, which indicates the colorway. So let me take the Ricoh off of my wrist, and we'll see what this looks like when you're wearing it. And here is the Mission Moon on my 7-inch wrist. It's a great size. It actually wears smaller than it is on paper. That strap looks great on it. It's just kind of fun and really ties in well with that dial. It looks really cool. I like it. I feel like that bezel really helps out with the aesthetic. This is not an inexpensive watch. I believe it retails for around $4,000. So it is a luxury piece. I would love to see the silver variant of this. At least in photographs, that one just looks amazing. Alright, now I have not put this on the time grapher yet, so I have no idea how it's going to perform. Let's find out. Alright, I've got it all fired up here. Let's see what happens. Wow, Look at that amplitude, that is awesome. It's running a little bit slow, about 10 seconds or so, but 0 beat error. Yeah, that is running really well. Very cool. Just what you would expect from a luxury piece. So there you have it, a full review of the Towson Mission Moon chronograph. What a crazy, complicated watch. It looks great too. It's sporty with touches of dressiness to it. And thanks again to Ross for making all of this possible. I've included a link to his Instagram in the description below. Thanks for watching.